And there we go. Alright, we're live now.
Good evening, folks, and welcome to another edition of Storytime with Scrappy and Friends. I believe in a previous episode that we said that we would read my story, but no. So we would use our I wouldn't call it a backup, but our second story that Harry recommended from Archive of Our Own, and we have another story with it in light of recent events. Yes, in the interim between this episode and the previous one, Chadwick Boseman of the MCU, among several other no, among several other roles, passed away, and we decided that we would find a Black Panther story to read, just as, kind of as a form of tribute.
Yeah. I should also mention this now, but the Puyo fic that I sent to Scrappy was sent way before this show was even conceived, so this was not planned in advance, but it just kind of worked out that way, I guess, so here we are.
Yes, indeed. Yes, and hi, I'm Scrappy Fan 92. With us today is not Tanner. He has personal issues to attend to, so
Yeah.
we have a smaller party today. We're wishing him the best.
Yeah.
Here today is Harry, once again our reluctant recorder.
Woo!
Love the enthusiasm.
I try to think of funny things to say whenever it's time for me to introduce myself, but I never think of anything.
And with us here today is Nova.
Puyo Puyo P. I don't know.
Thank you.
Brilliant.
Today's episode will be focused on just two short one-shot stories, because we're still, I don't know, it's just thematically appropriate for what we need to do today.
Mm-hmm.
As such, it will pretty much just be me and Nova reading. And we will start with the Black Panther story, and yeah, I suppose we should provide some context for those who actually don't really follow Marvel at all. Okay, so Black Panther is a comic book series which became a very successful movie in 2018 about a line of African kings who go under the a line of African kings, African rulers really, who take up the mantle of the Black Panther, an animal themed superhero as you could guess. The most well-known Black Panther is for Pete's sake, I can never pronounce his name, King T'Challa, who protects his fictional nation of Wakanda. Pardon me. Today's story is called What We Leave Behind by Steve993. For full disclosure, this story was written shortly after Chadwick Boseman's passing, so it is a tribute story in and of itself. Nova has volunteered to narrate for today's story.
Anywho.
Let's see. There's only 3 character roles, so I guess I'll handle them. You may begin when ready, Nova.
Me. All right. Wakanda had evolved for generations.
Oh, wait,
Mostly
I'm sorry.
in
Sorry, Nova. I forgot to mention, this is as you can imagine, this is explicitly a Black Panther story of the Marvel Cinematic Universe rendition. It's so for those who are aware of the MCU, spoilers for Avengers Infinity War and Avengers Endgame. Sorry about that. You can resume.
Wakanda had evolved for generations, mostly in secret and far from the world. The outside world was potentially dangerous to them, and while some individuals would like to there exploit it, there are others who could have benefited from their help. By projecting the message of a tribe, it still did not feel like they were one because of the division from within and out. King T'Challa made an effort to learn from the mistakes of his forefathers, while also not forgetting what good they taught him. He also knew what impact this could have on someone like Killmonger. By ignoring him, he was left alone, but yet had gone too far in his radicalism in order to protect what he believed he was owed. You don't achieve inner peace by impressing the oppressors, because you will become like those you fear. T'Challa had a lot to learn still, and suddenly when his kingdom needed him most, he vanished. Okay, Avatar reference. Gone, gone too was his sister, head of technological development. Wakanda was without a leader for 5 years. In that time, potential uprising was trying to happen, but it was always squashed by those who protected the country that remained, and those who believed in their king's message of peace, and felt it needed to be carried. And then suddenly he returned with his sister. For the world it was 5 years, but for them it may as well have been 5 minutes. But they didn't have time to react. The world and the people needed them to defend them again, and they did. But now that they were back, what would become of them? It had been a few months since the battle, a year hadn't even fully passed. And yet what could be considered a lifetime was lost. She remembered what it was like when she thought her brother had fallen in battle, and the relief she felt when he was alive. But then she lost him again. Part of her wondered how it would have impacted her if she survived the snap herself. These were the thoughts that went through Shuri, who was normally curious and excitable about her discoveries, and also a little pain in the ass for her brother. But it was sibling love, and they loved each other too much at the end of the day. Shuri was working at a table when her brother entered the room.
So how was visit? Excuse me. So how was visit? So how was visiting the homes? A little confusing still, but they are beginning to adapt. The children hugged my knees without question.
T'Challa answered.
They missed their king, and others missed you too.
Shuri said, thinking back to how she saw
Okoye.
Okoye almost break when she and T'Challa first came back.
I was with them in spirit, as I always will be.
T'Challa said as he remembered his father and how he is with him.
We have adapted, and we are changing, and they did it without me.
Shuri knew her brother to normally be modest about his achievements, so why now was he being personal?
You feel left out?
T'Challa spoke to his sister seriously.
Father said it is hard for a good man to be a king. It is hard for everyone to be good sometimes, but if a person lets themselves get consumed by petty differences, their extremes, then they will lose sight of themselves. You are disappointed in certain people.
Shuri asked him.
I pity them. You cannot ultimately force a person to change, but you can shine a light to them, and it's up to them to decide where they go. There will be people who will remain stuck. Excuse me. There will be people who will remain stuck in their ways, who have made up their minds. But sometimes one person's acts and how they contribute can make the difference, and how you respond to them can convey much. A lot of people are wondering where. Excuse me. A lot of people are wondering what you're going to do.
Shuri said, referring to public response to the king's return.
After all, it's not the first time you've returned from. After all, it's not the first time you've returned from the dead.
T'Challa smiled.
We will continue to build on. We will continue to build on what has been done. What those who accomplish in the 5 years will not be lost or paved over. Wakanda is ever growing, but it is eternal and has continued for generations. What we leave behind, the next generation will inherit, and I think things will be okay.
Shuri hadn't heard her brother be this self-reflective before.
You sure? I am positive.
T'Challa said as he put a hand on her shoulder.
But I hope you can juggle the jobs you will hold.
Shuri was confused.
I don't understand. Excuse me. I don't understand.
T'Challa looked her in the eye.
You will in time. Time is something we've lost, and sometime we take for granted. And someday there is no coming back. When I move on to join our ancestors permanently, the responsibility of leading our people will fall to you.
Shuri realized the responsibility he was putting on her. He was planning ahead. Neither of them knew what the future would hold, but she was ready.
I understand, brother, and I will do my best. But that day is years from now, right? I do not know. Every day is a journey, sister. Make it count.
T'Challa said as Okioi entered the room.
We are ready for transport.
Okioi told him. Shuri had heard of where they were going.
Can you still have a memorial outreach center named after you if you turn up alive? So long as it does what it needs to. Pardon me. So long as it does what it needs to do, it can keep the name.
T'Challa said as he left the room. Okoye stood there, stone-faced, looking at him leave.
I heard everything.
Shuri saw her expression soften.
It's okay to let it out. Adora Milage is supposed to protect the king, and yet I could not save him.
Okoye said of the memory of T'Challa turning into ash still in her head, even if he was alive. The failure will always be with her.
Sometimes we can't control death. All we can do is make sure we look out for him.
Shuri said.
And you?
Okoye asked her, wondering about her state of being.
I'll be fine.
Shuri said with a smile.
So what was it like to be dead?
Okoye asked curiously.
It didn't feel that way, but I can't describe it.
Shuri told her.
So I have to die in order to get your understanding?
Okoye asked her.
I guess.
Shuri told her.
I do not plan to die today, or soon.
Okoye said.
So let's just make the best out of living, shall we?
Shuri asked her. Okoye cracked a smile. T'Challa looked out over a horizon. The sun was setting, as it always will. For if the people have a reason to continue, it will burn brightest when they've done their good work. Until his work is done, he will fight on. So long as the cry, Wakanda forever, is heard, they will always stand together.
Is that the end?
Outside of author's notes, yes, that's the end.
Okay, I really liked that. That was actually really well done. Um, I don't. Coming from someone that hasn't even seen Black Panther, let alone most of the MCU, at the moment, I I kind of connected with that. That was really well done, especially with the line about um, some people will change and others will be stuck in their own ways or whatever. Um, that is that is like extremely true for real life. Um, and dang, oh dude, it was straightforward and to the point, and it kind of made me feel things a little bit, even just slightly.
Well, excuse me. Well, that's good. It was. If you did watch Black Panther's solo film, then yeah, that line about people being set in their ways would probably resonate even more strongly.
Mm.
Yes, I enjoyed it. It was a nice one shot and kind of a nice tribute to Bozeman, and also a way to kind of fill in some gaps from where Avengers Endgame left these characters. Like the Black Panther sequel, whenever it comes out, it will probably do that anyways. But for now, it's a nice enough story. For it'll be a nice story even after they inevitably address the gap. But
Mhm. Yeah, I approve of that a lot. That was really good.
yeah, I'm just going to read some of the author's notes because I think it's very important to hear.
Okay.
This is a quote from T'Challa from Captain America: Civil War. In my culture, death is not the end. It's more of a stepping off point. You reach out with both hands, and Bast and Sekhmet, they lead you into a green veld where you can run forever. That was him saying that line after his father had passed.
Dang.
And now for the author's own words. This was truly shocking news that came out of nowhere. You never truly know what others are facing. It takes strength to persevere, even when the odds are against you on many fronts. It also reminds you to take stock of everything. Always check on those you love, or if you have lost touch and want to connect again, find a way to do so before it's too late. You'll never know when it'll be someone's last day. And the best we can do is make them all count. Marvel
Yeah.
will eventually have to face and confront. Sorry, what were you saying?
No, no, no. I was just saying yeah. I wasn't saying anything.
See, Marvel will eventually have to face and confront an uphill battle, but I'm confident they'll make the right decision and one that will honor Chadwick and the Black Panther, and make sure the mantle lives on and the character is remembered. For now, though, we will mourn and miss him. Rest in peace, Chadwick Boseman. A great talent gone far too soon, and from what I hear, an even greater man. Wakanda forever.
Damn.
Yes. Steve 993. Yes, this was a great story. Published obviously very recently due to the nature of it, and yeah, there were some minor grammatical errors that tripped me up, and
Mhm.
um, otherwise a very good story.
A very good tribute as well.
Yeah, I suppose I should this is apropos of very next to nothing, but when I was searching for a Black Panther story, I checked the comic section first. There is no dedicated Black Panther section on fanfiction.net for the comic incarnation of Black Panther. So
Huh. That's surprising.
yes. So the movies section, however, has 218 stories.
I feel like a lot of that just has to do with the fact that cinema is generally more mainstream, so I guess that just makes people more willing to do fanfics. I don't know.
I can imagine that, and does kind of speak to the impact that the MCU has had on a lot of these pre-existing characters.
Oh yeah, for sure.
So, yes, thank you, Mr. Bozeman. You have inspired literal legions of fan fiction, and
For better or
future writers
worse.
future writers may cut their teeth here. So we thank you for that.
Yes. What about you, Nova?
Like honestly, even though, like even despite how short it was, it was still a nice little. It's still a nice little tribute to a beloved character, and I really do like how well it like even like again even despite its short length, it still felt realistic enough uh, about about the worries of the future and about the worries of death because even if you know about what's happened in the MCU so far in terms of its canon, like that doesn't really take away from the message even if because even if most of the characters are still technically alive at this point, uh, for that time for when they weren't alive due to the snap, it really did feel devastating, and you could definitely tell how much it impacted the characters who were alive during that time period.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I definitely agree with that.
And so, uh, like I said, it doesn't really take away from the message because whether or not, whether or not, uh, it, like in real life, it was like something like that could happen for some unknown cosmic reason. Like obviously, like we wouldn't know firsthand. Like eventually, they'd come back uh, because some brave souls managed to actually win and actually return and actually bring them back through some unknown force or whatever, or at least it's unknown to us. Like, but for that time, we'd actually think they were complete. We would also basically react the same way. We would think they would actually all be dead and they would never come back because, like, this isn't, this isn't like a fictional universe. This isn't the MCU. Like, we would think, no, that's it. Like, all that just gone. Like, and there
Mm-hmm.
would be no way to bring them back. And so we just basically it it drives home the point of it drives home that point without being too like cynical about it or too pessimistic about it. It
Yeah.
it basically it reminds us that whether or not like no matter how people die, no matter how like when or where or how our loved ones die, for those of us who still have life, we still need to keep going, not only for ourselves but also in honor of those who have already passed away,
Mm-hmm.
because
Hello? Uh, hi?
Nova, are you there?
His his circle's like, um, green, but I don't... Oh. Hi? What's going on?
hello.
Hi?
Hi. Well,
Um, what were you saying? About like...
Oh no. Oh no, I was just ending my piece with
Okay.
just saying that. I was just ending my piece with saying that um, it reminds us that no matter no matter who's close to us dies, we still have to keep going, not only for ourselves but also in memory of them,
Mm-hmm.
because even even if moving on, even if moving on is the only thing we can do, it's also the thing that we should do anyway.
Yeah. You have to... You have to think about, like, what they would want for you, and it can be... It can be hard to come to that conclusion a lot of the time, but... Yeah.
those are words to live by.
Mm. I don't think I have anything else to add to that, really. I think we said our piece.
Also, yeah, I alluded to the very heavy popularity of the MCU earlier. I did not mean that to disparage the popularity of the source material itself. I was just making a point of comparison for how big the MCU's reach is.
Mm.
But of course, not work without the source material existing beforehand to begin with.
Right, yeah, you always have to have the OG to um, iterate on it, or like make new things.
Anyways, yeah, I believe I said my piece on that story. Steve 993, we thank you for your contributions, and we would like. I'd be interested in seeing more of your work in the future.
I agree. I'm the same way.
All right. And I have no idea how to properly quote unquote segue this because we go from tribute to something far more light.
Yeah.
The second and final story of this episode is a Puyo Puyo story, and yeah, I should probably explain the very convoluted history of that franchise.
Yeah, before you do that, I should stress that I did recommend that we did Black Panther first, just by the fact that it's a series that these guys are inherently more familiar with, so it was just easier to start with it. Anyways, go on.
Okay, so Puyo Puyo is actually a spin-off video game series of another video game series. Yes, and if I recall, it is a spin-off of an RPG trilogy called Mado Monogatari.
Yeah, that's correct.
A rather violent series of dungeon crawlers.
I think so. I think that's what they are.
Yes, the primary connecting strand between them is the main character, Arl Naja.
Yep.
She's a fluffy, happy-go-lucky 5-year-old wizard.
Wait, she's
She's 5
she
and
doesn't.
like the old.
She ages between the trilogy of those games.
Yeah, because I was about to say, like, from the art that the official art that I've seen of her is like she doesn't look 5.
No, yeah, how we know her now, she's definitely not. But in the first Monogatari game, she's like really young, and I think by the third game, she's a lot older. I think. I don't know that much about the Monogatari trilogy specifically, but yeah.
Yeah, she started off as some random Rugrats wandering around fighting Satan, and now she just hangs out with Satan.
Yeah.
I'm only half joking.
Yeah. Pretty much.
Yeah, don't let my kind of somber tone fool you. Puyo Puyo is a pretty happy-go-lucky series.
Yeah.
It went from ultra violence to Nico Nico Ni.
Yeah, pretty much.
Yeah. I mean, if I'll be honest, if we're gonna get into this, I think the Puyo Puyo stuff right now is written better than the current Sonic stuff, just on the sense that actually knows what it wants to be. But, yeah.
Don't, Harry. We will read Sonic fanfiction soon. I promise.
I don't know if I'm ready for that.
Tanner's ready. He is so ready. And that takes us to our story today. A story simply called Requests of Puyo Puyo by Kiba Sniper. And the format of this story is interesting because it's basically an... Sorry, what now?
No, this is completely different to anything we've done before. So
Yeah, this is like a episodic anthology story. Like, the chapter we're showing off for today is chapter 61 of 82.
yeah, I'm gonna say this now. We don't plan to go do this whole story because, yeah, as Scrappy was saying, this is an anthology fanfic, and each chapter is basically a standalone thing. And I remember specifically sending Scrappy this one because it was one that I really liked, and I guess by extension that's why we're here today.
Yep. So, let's see. Yes, I guess the gimmick of this story is that Kiba Sniper, I guess, takes some limited requests and plucks a few characters from the Puyo Puyo series and writes chapters about them.
That's essentially what it is, yeah. He gets requests from comments and stuff for the stories and just rolls with it.
And that takes us to chapter 61, Housemate. The primary characters of this story are R, Doppelganger, that's the thing, Andy, and Ringo.
Yep.
I will handle the Arls and the narration. Do you want to voice Amity and Ringo Nova?
Yeah, sure.
Okay, thank you.
The best I can.
Summary.
I'll just say this
Go on.
quickly. I'll just say this quickly. The best advice I can give you for Doppel is just basically just do Al's voice, but a slightly deeper.
That would help if I actually knew what Arl sounded like to begin with.
Just think like typical tomboy kinda personality.
Oh, this is gonna be fun. Summary: Amity and Ringo meet a woman who Arl says will now be living with her. While Amity accepts her, Ringo isn't exactly trusting of this doppelganger and decides to question her. Requested by a Tumblr Anon.
Hey, you had a sister?
Amity cries, her head jerking from left to right, saying subtle differences of the duo. Arl chuckles, sitting on her couch with her doppelganger. She glances over at the darker-haired woman who is currently inspecting her nails. In her lap is Carbuncle, Arl's friend, resting against her stomach, and she follows Doppel's gaze down to their treasured pet, watching her stroke between long ears. We aren't exactly fate. I guess you can say we're close enough, she replies, crossing her ankles and setting her hands on her knees. She flicks her gaze back to Doppel. Right? She nods, her attention fixed on Carbuncle. Sighing, she hugs him to her chest, her armor poking his face, but he doesn't seem to mind. As he continues sleeping, she snickers, low and almost ominous, a tone that makes the hairs on the back of Ringo's neck raise. Are you fine being called Doppel? She asks, folding her arms over her chest. Another nod. This time, she lifts her head to stare at Ringo, her gaze seeming to go through her. That's right. Oh gosh. That's right. We're trying out different names, but until we find one, Doppel is fine. She sighs, sinking into the plush cushion. For Pete's sake. She sighs, sinking into the plush cushion nestled next to her. The goddess knows how many of our other mutual friends have already caused trouble for us by not specifying which Arl they mean. Ringo slowly nods. She hadn't expected such a twist in their normal day. She and Amity were invited to hang out in Arl's world, but seeing Doppel lounging on her couch initially threw her off. Considering they had heard Doppel tried replacing Arl many times, Ringo and Amity thought they needed to battle, but Arl quickly intervened, saying they had come to a truce and were living together. Needless to say, Ringo isn't exactly sure a lifelong grudge could be satisfied with a sudden peace. The bored, neutral expression remaining on her face seems to mask her true feelings. Her posture and speech appear to hide something. If her suspicions are correct, she knows Doppel won't be satisfied with a mere truce in home, craving stability as the true Arl.
Hey! I think it's really great that you guys have put your differences aside. Now we have two Arls to hang out with.
Amity says, clapping her hands together. What were your plans for today? Doppel asked, glancing at Arl and beginning to pepper Carbuncle's head with soft kisses. Oh, I was gonna show them the Mokemoe Labyrinth. Wanna come? No thanks. I'm gonna play with Carbuncle today. She presses her chin onto Carbuncle's head, the gentle snoring filling the space between them. I haven't had the chance to have some private time with him yet, so I'd like to have the day to myself. That's fine. Just make sure you finish laundry, okay? She smirks as Doppel glances away. I'm only reminding you so you don't forget like last time. Clicking her tongue, Doppel scoffs and mutters. I know. forget one time and you keep nagging me. You keep nagging me about it. Only because it started raining and drenched my good skirts. Arl flicked her cheek, earning a grumble in return.
If you want to try to say that, you definitely can!
Amity Why? Amity exclaims, an octave higher than usual. She leans forward in her seat, beaming like a star.
Any friend of ours is a friend of mine, alright, Ringo?
I need to settle my weariness with supplementary questions.
She says, leaning back and crossing her legs, Amity humming in confusion. Keeping her eyes on Ringo, Apple leans closer to Arl and whispers, "Does this one always talk like she's reciting a textbook?" She gasps and lightly swats her arm. "Don't be rude!" Another drum of a chuckle presses against her lips. She inspects Ringo, taking in her observant stance and wary gaze. Wary gaze. Compared to her bubbly friend, her uncertainty is understandable. Doppel hadn't been the kindest person. Some sarcasm here and there, a little mayhem for their friend. She isn't an angel, and she lets her lips twitch into her cheeks as Ringo frowns, fiddling with the hem of her sweater.
You're not trying to steal Arl's place anymore, correct?
Correct.
And you're really satisfied with living with her, even though you tried on multiple occasions to steal her place, right?
That's right.
And you have no more schemes up your sleeve?
I'm not wearing sleeves. Ringo groans and rolls her eyes as Doppel chuckles. She knows exactly what she means. She risks joking. Setting Carbuncle in Arl's lap, she stands up and crosses over to them. Crouching, she cups her knees and grins, her brilliant scarlet eyes gleaming and drawing the girls in. "You don't have to worry about me. I'm fine in this place." She pats Ringo's head as if she were a dog. "Though it's smart to maintain your hesitation. Who knows what I'm gonna do next?" "The laundry, if you know it's good for you," Arl huffs, puffing her cheek out. Chortling, Doppel rises and shrugs. She plucks Carbuncle off Arl's lap and sets him on her shoulder. Hearing him yawn, she sighs and smooths her skirt, offering a quick wave as she leaves the trio alone.
She seems like a lot of fun.
Amity says, and Ringo sighs, her theories hardly quelled. Arl watches Doppel and Carbuncle leave, a small smile playing on her lips. "Well, she's happier now, so let's leave it at that and get a move on to the labyrinth." As Ringo and Amity cheer, Doppel lingers in the doorway. She closes her eyes and grins to herself. Opening the front door, she breathes a pine scent, stretches, and sets out to bring in their laundry. End chapter.
Yeah, that was a really short one. I kind of just like it for how simple it is, really.
I think I only know Doppel Arl from a music track from like Puyo Puyo 4.
Yeah, that's the game she comes from.
Yeah, that's like the pre-Sega days.
Yeah, it was back when the series was owned by Compile, I think.
Yes.
Yeah. So what did you guys think?
I liked it. It was cute.
Yeah.
Knowledge on the Puyo Puyo lore, but I think you can get enough from the character interactions.
Yeah, you can understand the general basics.
Has Amity seen the doppelganger before?
Not to my knowledge. I don't think she's ever. I don't think they've ever been in the same game.
Alright then, because I was about to wonder.
Yeah, I'm not sure. There's not too much to say specifically, but yeah, it's just a cute and it's just a cute short story.
Yeah, noticing everything's in present tense for this, it kind of threw me off for a moment.
Hmm. What did you think, Nova?
Well, one thing I can say for certain is that it was definitely a fucking mood whiplash after reading a tribute story to Chadwick Boseman.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
I can agree with that. We got anything else to say?
Uh, yeah, but in all seriousness, at, at the very least, it's it is a bit irreverent. It, it definitely does, from at least from what little I've seen, it does decently capture the decently capture the nature of the presentation of Puyo Puyo, because I know for a fact that one of the recent Puyo Puyo games is like it's absolutely irreverent, and it just, especially that one scene where one of the characters had her text box display something like slightly louder than average screaming or something like that.
Yeah, the current game, the modern games like doing that stuff a lot.
So it definitely captured the bubbly and irreverent nature of at least at least the series as it is in modern times decently well, and
Hmm.
it's definitely pretty. It was definitely pretty adorable.
Yeah, that's the one thing that makes Puyo just so charming and easy to get into the world because it's very just generally bubbly and colorful. And if you want to be happy, then it's it gives you that in spades.
Yeah, and yeah, I guess since he showed up in the story, hello, children. If you are ever interested in the characters of Puyo Puyo, do not Google Carbuncle by himself.
Yeah, yeah, don't do that.
Please put Puyo Puyo Carbuncle or Arl and Carbuncle. I am trying to help you.
Yeah, I not even just for curiosity's sake, like search it up. I made that mistake, and yeah, don't do that.
And before anyone asks, no, it's not Rule 34 I'm worried about. It's an actual medical condition called carbuncle.
Yeah, it's something to do with the human body, and it's disgusting. You, it'll make you wish it was Rule 34. I'll say that much, but yeah.
What exactly is Carbuncle, the character, supposed to be?
I don't know. I do know that he was originally Satan's pet, and he just uh uh stuck around to with Arl instead at one point. I don't know.
That sounds about right. Puyo
Um,
Puyo is disturbing.
it's a interesting series. I should probably stress now that We at the moment we don't plan on doing another Puyo Puyo story. But if I or anyone else ends up finding another one, then maybe we'll do it. But at the moment, we have nothing else planned.
Yes, I have I've been resuming my chapter on and off. Yeah, I keep saying this. I promise I've actually made progress in the last week. It's just taking a bit longer than I expected. So I don't know what we will read next week. Maybe I'll be done with the chapter by then. Maybe not. Probably not.
I mean, if we don't have that done, we're gonna have to find some new material.
Lewis gave us a Pokemon story, so I'll look. So yeah, I won't say what we're reading next week. You have to find out. We hope that you have enjoyed this episode of Storytime with Scrappy, and for those of you who have been, what am I trying to say? Call your family and friends, just check in on them. You
Yeah,
never know what they're going through.
it definitely gave me a bit of pause. Gave me a bit of pause because there are some friends that I haven't heard from in several years, and yeah, like you said, like you never know when someone's time is up, essentially, and you need to make sure that you're always keeping in touch with the like friends and family, and make sure that um, you don't waste waste precious time or what have you, and yeah, you gotta make the most of the time that you and everyone else has.
And if you are able to afford it, please go see a doctor.
Yes. Like no matter how you're doing, like how well or how badly you're doing, it's always good to have someone to talk to.
Yes.
Yeah, I think that's all I had to say, really. You guys got anything else?
Yeah, that's pretty much it.
All right, then. We thank you for joining us for another episode of Storytime with Scrappy, and we wish you all a good night and good health.
Yep. See you guys next time, I suppose.